Conclusion: a statement based on what is observed. Decide whether a hypothesis is true or false. Constants: factors in an experiment that stay the same. Control: a standard used for comparison. Dependent variable: the factor or outcome that will be measured in the experiment. Experiment: a scientific procedure undertaken to make a discovery, test a hypothesis, or demonstrate a known act. Hypothesis: a reasonable and educated answer based on what you know and what you have observed. Independent variable: the one factor that you change in the experiment. Law: a rule that describes a pattern in nature. The scientific method: step-by-step procedures of scientific problem solving. Scientific problem: a question that can be answered using scientific methods. Theory: a scientific theory, an attempt to explain a pattern observed repeatedly in the natural world. Variable: things that the scientists control to make sure their test results are dependable. Guard cells open and close the stomata. Herbaceous stems are soft and green. Leaves: the organs of the plant where the food-making process occurs. Vascular plants have tube-like structures that carry water, nutrients, and other substances throughout the plant. Non-vasculars do not have these tube-like structures and use other ways to move and substances. Phloem: it is made up of tubular cells that are stacked to form structures called tubes, which move food from where it is made to other parts of the plant. Xylem: it is made up of hollow tubular cells that are stacked one on top of the other to form a structure called vascels, which transport water and dissolved substances from the roots throughout the plant. Rhizoids: non-vascular plants that contain thread-like structure that anchor them where they grow. Roots: water and other substances that enter a plant through its roots, and they act as anchors, preventing plants from being blown or washed away. Stems, also known as tree trunks: they are located above ground and support the branches, leaves, and reproductive structures. Stomata: small openings in the leaf that allows carbon dioxide, water, and oxygen to enter and exit from the leaf. Woody stems: they are hard and ridged. Xylem: it is made up of hollow tubular cells that are stacked one on top of the other to form a structure called vessels, which transport water and dissolved substances from the roots throughout the plant. Abiotic: the non-living parts of the environment. Abiotic Factor Air: air has an impact on all species that live there. Polluted air, like the air in, can cause the species in an area to change, move, or die off. Abiotic Factor Soil: it contains different amounts of nutrients, minerals, and moisture different plants need different kinds of soil. Abiotic factor sunlight, a major factor in determining where green plants and other photosynthetic organisms live. Abiotic factor temperature, it determines which plants and animals can live there. Abiotic factor water, all living organisms need water to survive. Angiosperms, vascular plants that flowers and produces food with one or more seeds. Some flower parts develop into a fruit. The most important plants on Earth because they form the diets of most animals. Biome, a large region with plant and animal groups that are well adapted to the soil and climate changes of the region. Biosphere, the part of the earth that supports life. Biotic, the living or once living organism in the environment. Biotic factors, organisms that depend on other organisms for food, shelter, protection, and reproduction. Communities, groups of population that interact with each other in a given area. Competition, the struggle among organisms that to obtain the same resources needed to survive and reproduce. Consumers, organisms that take in energy when they feed on producers or other consumers. Cotyledons, they are used for food storage. Decomposers, they take in energy as the breakdown remains. As they break down the remains. Let me read that again. Decomposers take in energy as they break down in the remains of dead organisms. Dicots, they have two cotyledons in their seeds. And the examples are, for example, peanuts, green beans, peas, apples, and oranges. Ecological Pyramid, it models the number of organisms at each level of a food chain. Ecology, the study of interaction among organisms and their environment. Ecosystem, it is made up of a biotic community and the abiotic factors that affect it. Energy pyramid, it compares the energy available at each level of the food chain in an ecosystem. Food chain is a simple way of showing how energy in the form of food passes from one organism to another. Food web, a series of overlapping food chains that exist in an ecosystem. Gymnosperms, vascular plants that reproduce seeds that are not protected by fruit, and they do not have flowers. For example, conference pines means spruces, redwoods, and junipers. Habitat, the place where an organism lives. Herbaceous. Oh wait, I already read that. Oh, so that was the word that I got confused by. Limiting factors. Antibiotic or abiotic factor that limits the number of individuals in a population. Monocots have one cotyledon in their seeds. For example, corn, rice, wheat, and barley. Niche, The role or job of an organism in an ecosystem. Plant adaptations to land. 1. Plants that live on land have